What's up, everybody, and welcome back. Today we are discussing Evolution and whether or not it should have a permanent position on the pay-per-view or PLE card in WWE. Of course, we had the second iteration of Evolution just a few short nights ago. Probably one of the shows of the year by the end of this year, if not top 2 or 3. Possibly even 1 if the rest of the year doesn't go to plan. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But yeah, Bragster, what were your initial thoughts on Evolution in terms of the overall quality of the show?
I was pleasantly surprised, you will know of the people who watched the predictions video will know that I was excited for this match anyway, right? But this not match, the whole show. Sorry,
Yeah.
But basically, I went into it going, yeah, this is gonna be good. And then the fact that on a weekend of Saturday Night's main event, Great American Bash, All In, the thing everyone's talking about is Evolution. You know, and All In was, I've not seen it yet, apparently incredible on like a whole different level. And yet everyone was talking about how good Evolution was. Because you have one of the best triple threat matches at the very start. And then you have one of the best main events to any pay-per-view I've seen this year, let alone maybe in the past like 3, 4, 5 years, you know, excluding the Manias per se, right? On a general show, I've not seen a main event like that. It was incredible. Then you have the cash-in on top of everything. That we even said, does it happen? And I really thought they were going to go down the SummerSlam route. But just like Naomi said in her promo on Raw, you didn't expect it, and she was right. Did not expect it to cash in on their other title. It completely threw us. I said that they were going to pull the rug from under our eyes, and they did, even though I thought they were going to do that, which is even better. The fact that, for me, the weakest match on the card was the Battle Royal. And I love Battle Royals. I have a soft spot for them.
Yeah.
Any Rumbles, Battle Royals, I love them. I think they are chaotic fun. I just love the silliness of it. The fact that it makes absolutely no sense. And quite frankly, it shouldn't work as a match type, but it does. And I really enjoy the silliness of it. And for me, that was the weakest. Now, don't get me wrong, when it got to like the final 4 or 5, which I'm not going to list off the top of my head because it's irrelevant. But when it got to the final 4 or 5, I was like, okay, this is really good, really well structured. And it was a nice end to the match. But the fact that that was the weakest, and by no means was it a bad match, like, just says the quality of this show. It was great from top to bottom. I think that they did a really good job at showcasing new talent, especially the NXT talent. The NXT talent got a really nice showing in the Battle Royal. You obviously had the NXT title match. And you also had in the tag team division, you had Zarya and Sol Ruka in that, to which both mightily impressed and both got a lot of time in the ring. And on commentary, you had Michael Cole really, really putting over the NXT title, especially Sol Ruka got a real nice little nod from Michael Cole on multiple occasions. So, for me, overall, I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant show. As you said, it was easily one of the top shows. And at the end of the year, when we talk about what was the best show of the year, this is in the conversation.
Yeah, I think for WWE side of it, especially, it's going to be top 3. Obviously, we have to wait and see because there's a lot of stuff to get through before the year ends. But I think so far, it may well be the best show so far of the year. I don't think that would be over the top to say.
No, I think the only ones that possibly come close is you're looking towards maybe the Rumbles, and maybe night 1 of Mania was extremely strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, this is by far. But even then, like, I'm not going, oh yeah, these are the 2 shows that I've listed are better. It's just they're the only ones that compete.
Yeah. No, exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. In terms of the overall landscape then for Evolution, I guess we'll move on to that because obviously I know there's been a lot of complaints over the years how there hasn't been that showcase for Evolution ever since the original those years ago, and I agree to a certain extent that like there should have been more Evolutions than just 2 since its inception. I think that I struggle with the notion of it being a yearly show because it might take the shine off of it. My other thought process I have in my head is it needs to be on its own rather than sort of put in the jumble of a massive weekend like we've had where it's like All In, Great American Bash, Saturday night's main event, Evolution.
Yeah.
I'd much rather it be like its own PLE. It is the PLE for that month, and giving it its proper spotlight, rather than it just being sort of wedged in at the end of a weekend where everything is happening all at the same time. Because again, it's credit to the women and the wrestlers who are on that show that show has stood out above everything else in a weekend as jam-packed as it was. But I feel like for the specialty that Evolution, or the special event that Evolution is and has become after 2 shows, it needs to have its own spotlight and it needs to be away from everything else. The other thing is that I kind of feel like we should be at a point where we don't feel the need to have a women's special anymore. I feel like we should be in a place where women's wrestling is on the same level as men's. I think we're obviously, compared to like 10 years ago, we're a hell of a lot closer. There's no question about that. Is it all the way there? I don't think so. But when nights like that happen with Evolution, it kind of adds more fuel to the fire of we need to get to this place a little bit quicker, because the women can put on just as good matches, and have done for a very long time, put on just as good matches as the men's. But that's my thing, and I know there's a call for yearly Evolution, like a yearly show. But my questions would be, would it take away from the specialness of Evolution? Because you see, like Hell in a Cell over the years, once it had it repeated over and over again, it kind of lost its thrill and it lost the shine of it. Obviously, that's up to WWE to keep that, and obviously the participants to keep that going. But with the people they've got at the moment, I don't think that's going to be the case. But in 5 years' time, when things hopefully are more even, do we need it anymore? That's my question, essentially. So yeah, those are kind of my initial thoughts on the whole whether Evolution should be a yearly thing. What are your thoughts on that, Bragster?
You kind of summed it up really well, but it is tough because I want to see the women showcased massively, because as I said, they've proven themselves so many times that they can put on banger matches and matches of the weekend where they only have 1 or 2 in even at Mania sometimes, 3 or 4 matches in a double weekend. The fact that this year was the first WrestleMania with a women's match on the card that wasn't for a title. That was huge. That probably wasn't put over as much as it probably should have been. But it, obviously us fans all knew that statistic. We all knew that was the case, and therefore, I feel like this was the perfect time to do Evolution 2. And it was nice to see. I feel like they shouldn't have waited 7 years. I agree with Big E. They should not wait 7 years to do it again. I think it should be maybe again in a couple of years. As you said, I don't want it to see a yearly event, because I want to see the women main event shows with men on it. Like that's what should happen. We shouldn't need. We shouldn't have needed Evolution for Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky to be the main event and shine the way that it did. Like that should happen automatically, because they are 2 of the best people on the roster. Obviously, I know this year will be different because it's John Cena's retirement tour. So I'm going to kind of ignore maybe ever since Mania not having a women's match as the main event, because nothing's been a main event other than John Cena for obvious reasons. However, we have not seen a women's WrestleMania main event, despite the fact it's been a two-night fiasco. what for, well, since the first one, which is the triple threat, which was when it was a one night fiasco, and it's been
No,
two nights.
there was Bianca and Sasha, wasn't there? Was that not?
I think that was just the opener,
Was that
if
just
I
the?
remember
Oh,
correctly.
okay.
I could be wrong, but I think
I
that
need to
was.
go back and look at it, but for some reason I had that in my head as being one
Maybe,
of the main events.
it was. Maybe it was, and I'm misremembering. And I hope I'm misremembering. But even then, Sasha Banks has been gone from WWE
Yeah,
for,
I know.
for an
Yeah,
extremely large amount of time. You know, the women have also not necessarily main evented normal pay per views alongside that, so that it's a constant frustration, a constant battle that fans have had. I personally believe that the triple threat between Naomi, Rhea Ripley, and Io should be main event of night one of SummerSlam. Right now, there's nothing. But the only other one is maybe Gunther and Punk.
yeah.
Is the only other one that really gets close.
Mm.
And I think it's going to be a tough choice between those two. You just go with whichever one has the more momentum. And right now, it's the triple threat women's based off of what we've just had at Evolution.
Yeah.
I also think it would be a really nice statement to be like the big pay-per-view after Evolution. We're not just waiting. Because that's what Triple H said in the press conference. He didn't really answer the question of yes or no, does it become a yearly event? Because Triple H is very media trained.
Yeah.
But the sentiment he tried to make, but made in a really roundabout way, I actually understood, which was the fact that what should happen is that we shouldn't need this yearly event, and I because they should be on a par, and I fully agree with that. The issue is Triple H, you're the booker,
Yeah.
and they haven't been, and that's why people have been clamoring for Evolution 2, because they wanted a proving ground stage again for the women to prove themselves. You know, what you pointed out there, the first Evolution was a network special. It wasn't a PLE, it was a network special. That's the same type of network special that was alongside the end of the Shield, Dean Ambrose leaves WWE network event.
Yeah.
You know, they're put on the same level. And let's be honest, network events is just like the Saturday night main events on YouTube. A lot of people probably won't watch them.
Yeah.
So there's be a lot of people who hadn't seen the first Evolution. Then you've got what it is now, which is on the same weekend as All In, Saturday Night's main event, and the Great American Bash. And as great as it was that they obviously outshined, as you said, it would be very nice for them to just be on their own and I think in 2 years' time, I want to see that. I want to see them not next year, maybe next year you could get away with, because it would still feel special because it was so long since.
Mm-hmm.
But in the next couple of years, I want to see an Evolution that stands on its own, that is its own pay-per-view in a cycle like we have, where it's not overcrowded. You could possibly get away with an NXT event on the same weekend, but you can't get away with having an AEW one on the same weekend as well, as a B show maybe for the men on the roster.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel like they need it where it stands on its own, where it sells out an arena, and we get that final showcase moment. And I feel like at that point, that should be it. I feel like you've then been given a year, 2 years of here's your showcase event, here's another showcase event. We don't, and you can even have one of the women's wrestlers, or even Stephanie, be in the ring and be like, this is the last one, because we don't need it anymore, because we main evented this, and this in the past year. You know, I would love that sentiment where they stand in the ring and they go, we don't need this because we've got this. Now, I'm not saying that it should never happen again, because, you know, never say never, and it might call for itself where we have a really cool moment where things are building and you have it. But as I said, we need it where they're on the same level, because they deserve to be. It shouldn't ever be a male-female thing anymore. There's a reason Rhea Ripley gets pops the exact same as the likes of Roman Reigns. Alexa Bliss is one of the most over people right now. The women's intercontinental.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Brilliant.
Right on
time.
cue. Every time Bliss gets mentioned.
Every time. But, you know, the Women's Intercontinental Championship right now is the best mid-card title in the entirety of WWE.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they're showcasing it well. And, you know, it was really smart to put Becky and Bayley in that picture so it really felt big. So for me, I just feel like, yeah, it shouldn't be a yearly thing, but that's not because the women don't deserve the spotlight. Instead, it's the complete opposite. It needs to be one where, you know, they main event half of SummerSlam, they main event half of WrestleMania, and not because you're ticking boxes, because it feels right. You know, it shouldn't, you know, just like how we have world champions now from loads of different races and cultures, which again, 15, 20 years ago, we were clamoring for that.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're getting to a point now where it's now this push, you know, where we build it. And that also means, and, you know, I'm going to bring it up, the women's tag division needs to be a focus. It needs to build actual teams. They need to start putting that focus on it, where it's not all about progressing singles rivalries.
Yeah.
But all the individual titles need to be treated on the same level as the men's titles. And guess what that means? That the world title might not be on every PLE for both the men's and the women's, because there's just simply too many titles. That's a good thing. It's not a bad thing to have a feud that lasts 2 months and you miss one of the pay-per-views. You know, where you maybe have a contract signing on one of the pay-per-views instead. You know, you do something slightly different, or, you know, or you just don't have them at all.
Yeah.
And that's how you build attractions as well. You know, there's a reason why some wrestlers, when they wrestle, get bigger reactions than others, because they don't wrestle as much. And you don't see them as much. And a lot of the PLEs don't have, you know, which are held in America, will be held in the same places like next year. Bloody hell, WrestleMania is in Las Vegas 2 years in a row. But, you know, so for me, it shouldn't be necessary. And I still believe it is necessary to have it, because I don't think they've gotten to a point where they are being booked regularly enough in the top main event slots without this extra push on top to really get the booking committees and the bookers of these shows to really put a focus on the women's division. Quite frankly, you know, and it's just an idea, but it might be worth having bookers who just book the women's division, have a focus on there, you know, and people who have a focus on the men's division, you know, that could, if it's too much for certain booking teams, maybe do that, because it's, you know, intergender matches don't happen at WWE, so you don't have to worry about that side of things. So there are loads of different ways they could go about it. I still think it's needed.
Yeah.
But I want to see it where if it does become a yearly thing, it eventually stops, or it happens in 2 years, they do one more the year after, and then that's it. Because in those 2 or 3 years, like in 3 years' time, I don't want to be sat in front of a camera talking about the fact that women still haven't main evented WrestleMania again, or, you know, the women's Royal Rumble hasn't main evented. You know, instead it's been the men's one again, or the women's War Games match, or this, that, and the other. You know, I want to be sat where it's not even a conversation. It's just what matches are on the card. Who cares about the order?
Yeah.
Because, you know, and that's how it should be. You know, and I also understand this is not a WWE issue. This is a worldwide wrestling issue where women aren't represented as good on wrestling cards in general. I'm not naming any companies. I'm just in general. That is just the case. And I still believe that even if we feel like, oh, we don't need this, the entire wrestling world still needs it as well. A showcase like Evolution will elevate women's wrestling for the next month to 3 months. Right, and that'll be across the world, and every single company will now put an extra focus on it because of Evolution. So I feel like even if WWE feel like they maybe don't need it, the wrestling world still needs it.
Yeah.
Because we still need to catch up to, quite frankly, where we should be.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't really put it any better than that myself. Really, I know I put my little point at the start, but I think you've covered it pretty well. Yeah, hopefully, I know we keep talking about WrestleMania and stuff, but even just general PLEs, Saturday night main events, whatever shows they're doing, Raw, SmackDown, all those things. I know you generally tend to see a lot more women's main events on the TV shows nowadays, but extending into PLEs and then getting to,
Yeah.
your Rumbles, your SummerSlams, your WrestleManias and things like that. In the next few years, I think we will hopefully start to see more of it, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. And of course, folks, we would love to hear your thoughts on this. Obviously, a lot of debate online about whether or not Evolution should be a yearly event or should it be a bit more sporadic. Clearly not as sporadic as it has been between 1 and 2. But yes, let us know down in the comments. Would love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, that will be it for today's video. As always, if you want to see more wrestling content, hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next one, where, of course, we'll be talking all things wrestling.